What I felt when in the desert. I was uplifted into an inner radiant light and felt vibrant and wondrously alive with power. I was filled with ecstasy and joy, and I knew beyond all doubt that this power was the true creator out of which all created things had been given their being. This glorious interior harmony, peace, and sense of perfect fulfillment, needing nothing more to be added to that beautiful moment, was the very nature of the reality, the creative power, giving life to creation and existence. What I saw, realized, perceived when in the desert. I was lifted into another dimension of conscious perception, which enabled me to see the truth concerning life and existence. I saw lucidly and clearly what was real and what was false in man's thinking. I realized that this creative power I was experiencing was infinite, eternal, universal, filling all space beyond sky, ocean, earth, and all living things. I saw it was mind power. It was the creative power of mind. There was no point where this divine creative power of mind was not. I realized that human mind was drawn from divine creative mind, but was only a candle lit by the sun. At times my human sight was so spiritually heightened I could see through rocks, earth, sand. These now appeared to be only a shimmer of tiny motes. I realized that nothing was really solid. When I had moments of doubt that this could be so, the changes in the phenomena stopped taking place, and much later I discovered that my thoughts, if strongly imbued with conviction, could effect changes in the shimmer of motes, what scientists presently calls electrically charged particles, and therefore produce changes in the appearance of the rock or whatever I was studying. It was at this point that I came to realize the powerful effect that conviction or unwavering faith had on the environment when stating a command or even a belief. What was even more startling was my mind-opening cosmic consciousness realization that all I had been witnessing was really the creative power of divine mind itself made visible in the shimmer of tiny motes. Not only this, its appearance could be profoundly affected by the activity of human thought. I realized that there was nothing solid in the universe. Everything visible was manifesting a differing state of consciousness which determined the composition and form of the shimmer of motes. Therefore, all outer form was an expression of the inner consciousness. Life and consciousness, I realized, were one and the same thing. It was impossible to say, this is life and that is consciousness. Consciousness was life, and life was consciousness, and was the creative power of both, divine universal mind, beyond, within, and behind the universe. I realized that people placed highest importance on individuality and form. They could not imagine mind or intelligence operating in any effective way other than through the medium of individual form. Because of this, the Jews had created a mental image of a vast supreme being, having all the attributes, positive and negative, of a human being. Thus was it possible for prophets to believe in and speak of Jehovah's anger, threats of punishment, visitations of sickness and plagues, in response to human waywardness. But these mental images, I realized, were myths. They did not exist. I perceived that in any dimension of existence, it was the mind, the intelligence exhibited, which was the all-important factor relating to creation and man himself. Therefore, Genesis should be rewritten. Before creation was universal mind, creative power behind and within creation itself. Having seen so clearly, beyond all dispute, that the creative power of universal mind was everywhere, within the infinity of the skies and active within earthly forms as well, I was inwardly directed to look around me and saw only gravel and rock. Then suddenly I was presented with a picture of a beautiful land in which were growing every conceivable plant, shrub, and tree. Even birds flitted in the trees and animals grazed the grass. Watching this vision with amazement, I saw that plants and trees, every one of them, and yes, even birds and animals in reality, were composed of hundreds of communities of infinitely tiny entities. Your modern scientists call them cells, working continuously in an entirely harmonious spirit of cooperation to produce the substance and various organs of the inner system and the outer appearance of the completed living entity. I contemplated this wonderful activity for a long time, although time was no longer of any importance to me. As I gazed and gazed, I thought, who would have guessed that within the outer covering of fur, feather, skin, there was such intense activity within tiny communities of entities, working together to give life, form, nutrition, healing, protection, endurance to the bodies of so many different species. It was the intelligently performed work which attracted my attention. Therefore, work, I realized, was an integral part of the creative power activity from the very least entity, cell, within the living systems to the most advanced entity in the universe, man himself. In the systems of all living things, all the labor was under the direction, ultimately, of the divine creative power, in whom were the plans and designs of creation. I saw that these plans and designs were in reality consciousness forms, which could be termed words, since each word signifies a very special consciousness form. Hence the original word in creative power consciousness becomes manifested in the visible world. The word, and therefore the consciousness pattern, remains within the divine creative mind, continually bringing forth its own. I could see then that everything in the universe did live, move, and have its being in the creative power of universal mind, which was infinite and eternal, and was the only true reality behind all manifestations of individualized form. I was filled with praise that everything in the world was out of, and yet within, this superlative creative power of divine mind. I marveled at all the secret activity forever taking place in all living things, including human bodies, and wondered how it was that such infinitely small units worked intelligently according to specified plans to produce unerringly the proposed form, tree trunk, leaf, flower, fruit, insects, birds, animals, and human bodies. I then realized even more clearly that the creative power was the very source of all intelligent activity in the universe. If mankind possessed intelligence, it was only because he had drawn it from the universal source of all being. Furthermore, I was shown that, just as men have clear characteristics and a well-defined nature in their self-presentation to the world at large, so did the creative power possess a clearly defined nature, distinct characteristics, which could be so clearly recognized in the manner that all living things, plants, animals, birds, men, were constructed and maintained. I saw that these principles and characteristics, clearly observable in the process of creation, was set invariable laws governing all of existence.